Creationism versus evolution. Looking at the fossil record, let's go to K33b, file name, K33b.htm. Click on that and look up another amazing find. Now let's back up and see what we're looking at here. What's another amazing find of what? Fossils. Another amazing find of fossils, which are the preservation of just the carbon, the carbonization, which usually means coal. Lots of life forms, plant forms especially, that have lots of carbon in them. And we have another amazing find. It was reported many years ago that of a fossilized human skull right in the middle of coal measures. The outstanding authority on coal geology, Otto Stutzer, says concerning this mysterious fossil right in the middle of coal. Coal miners going, what's this fossil, this human skull doing? In the coal collection in the Mining Academy in Freiburg, Stutzer was professor of geology and mineralogy in the School of Mines at Freiburg in Saxony. There is a puzzling human skull composed of brown coal and manganiferous and phosphatic limonite, boy, those chemicals there, but its source is not known. This skull was described by Karsten and Decken in 1842. That's a while ago. The coal was presumably tertiary in age, but at any rate is supposed to have far antedated the first appearance of man, because of the evolutionist concept of how to date things, which are as old as the rocks they're in. And here's a skull that's way before it should be. The evidence again seems mostly to have been ignored, although it has been suggested that someone must have carved the skull. Wow. Now we look at fossils, which are the preservation of just the original form in casts or molds. This is another means of fossil preservation, whereby the original organic substance entombed in the sediments dissolves away, either leaving a cavity having the form of the original organism, or else being replaced by some sort of mineral water, which is then cast into the forms of the original organism. Once again, this sort of preservation requires sudden or catastrophic burial, otherwise deterioration, followed by rather rapid cementation of the surrounding sediments in order for the mold to be preserved. The remains of the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, entombed by volcanic materials, offer an excellent illustration of this type of fossilization. The principle of uniformity again fails to provide modern examples of this type of process except in terms of intense aqueous or volcanic action. We have the petrified fossils. You ever been in a petrified fossils forest? I have. It's amazing. This process is similar to that of the formation of a mold and subsequent cast in that it consists of detailed replacement of the organic material by mineral water, usually brought about by the action of underground water. The famous petrified forests of the Yellowstone Park region and of Arizona, where I was, are familiar examples of this process. The exact details of the process of petrification are not known, although the usual associations of petrified wood and other materials indicate that volcanic action has been a contributing factor. The petrified forest of Arizona, as well as other regions, also shows action of subsequent floodwaters as a probable agent of deposition of the materials in their present location. In any case, some sort of catastrophic agent is again necessary for at least the burial of the materials before the agencies of petrification can begin their work. Look at point 7, preservation of animal and human tracks. This is Professor Miller's last category of means of fossil preservation. Many thousands of tracks of animals and of all kinds have been found preserved in stone, including many tracks of dinosaurs and other creatures now extinct. Professor Miller says footprints of animals made in moderately soft mud or sandy mud, which soon hardens and becomes covered with more sediment, are especially favorable for preservation. Thousands of examples of tracks of great extinct reptiles have been found in the red sandstone in the Connecticut River Valley alone. This sort of thing has been found so frequently that it has been considered more or less normal. Dinosaur footprints, for example, were discovered in Texas. These dinosaur tracks were supposedly made over 100 million years ago in a riverbed now identified as formed in the supposed Cretaceous periods. So you look at the rocks and say, okay, this is that old. Aside from the remarkable and hardly believable claim, because it's too old, that such ephemeral markings could have been preserved in such fine detail for such a long time, it is particularly significant that in this same bed have been found what appear to be human footprints. Whoa. Further investigation which follows proves that they are indeed human, fully human Homo sapien. Related to the animal tracks that have been thus preserved are the many instances of preservation of ancient ripple marks or raindrop impressions, but such that ephemeral markings could have been preserved in such great numbers and in such perfection is truly a remarkable phenomena, and one for which there is little, if any, modern parallel. We don't see this happening now. It is a matter of common experience that impressions of this sort in soft mud or sand are very quickly obliterated. It seems clear, catastrophic, here we go, that the only way in which such prints could be preserved as fossils is by means of some chemical action permitting rapid burial. Some sudden and catastrophic action is again necessary for any reasonable explanation of the phenomena. Move on in that same book. For example, there is no case of the human footprints that have frequently been found in supposedly very ancient strata. Man, of course, is supposed to have evolved only in the so-called late Tertiary, at the earliest, and therefore to be only about 1 million years old. But what appear to be human footprints have been found in rocks from as early as the so-called Carboniferous period, supposedly some 250 million years old. Ingalls says, on sites reaching from Virginia and Pennsylvania through Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, and westward toward the Rocky Mountains, prints similar to those shown above, referring to several accompanying pictures, and from 5 to 10 inches long, have been found on the surface of exposed rocks, and more keep turning up as the years go by. This is a great book I would go get if you're interested in the pictures. Now, Albert C. Ingalls, The Carboniferous Mystery, Volume 162, Scientific American, page 14. Back in 1940, these prints give every evidence of having been made by human feet at a time when the rocks were soft mud. As indicated in the quotation, this sort of thing is not rare occurrence, but is found rather frequently. However, geologists refuse to accept the evidence at face value because it would mean either that modern man lived in the earliest years of the postulated evolutionary history, or that this history must be condensed to a duration measured by the history of man. And to them, neither alternative is acceptable. They'd have to backtrack and do it all over again. Ingalls says, if man, or even his ape's ancestor, and even that ape's ancestor, early mammalian ancestor, existed as far back as the so-called Carboniferous period in any shape, then the whole science of geology is so completely worn that all the geologists will resign their jobs and take up truck hunt driving. Yeah, that's how serious it is. Hence, for the present at least, science rejects the attractive explanation that man made these mysterious prints in the mud of the Carboniferous period with his feet. I often hear the word carved. Ingalls and others have tried to explain the prints as modern Indian carvings, or as prints made of some as yet undiscovered Carboniferous amphibian that has human-like feet. Such explanations illustrate the methods by which the uniformitarians can negate even the most plain and powerful evidence in opposition to their philosophy. Nevertheless, it is obvious that it is only the philosophy and not the specific, objective, specific evidence, scientific evidence, that would prevent one from accepting these prints as of true human origin. Remarkable footprints have been made in a so-called Cretaceous limestone formation near Glen Rose, Texas, which we looked at. Roland T. Byrd, a paleontologist from the American Museum of Natural History, carefully examined the rocks and reported as follows. Yes, they apparently were real enough, real as rock could be, the strangest things of their kind I had ever seen. On the surface of each was splayed the near likeness of a human foot, perfect in every detail, but each imprint was 15 inches long. Byrd personally investigated the riverbed from which these footprints had reportedly been cut and was told by James Riles, a property owner, that a whole trail of these man tracks had been washed away recently. Byrd goes on to say that in his article, my surprise was partly overcome by Riles' casual in reference to them as human footprints, and I smiled. I lost my place here. Okay. I smiled. No man had ever existed in the age of reptiles. So he admits that this couldn't be. Riles can only show him one such track, 15 inches long, and Bird goes on to say, but the track lacked definition on which to base conclusions. However, he insisted that dinosaur tracks could still be found in the riverbed. To his utter amazement, Bird discovered that not only the trails of large three-toed carnivorous dinosaurs, but also the footprints of a gigantic sauropod, 24 by 38 inches large, 12 feet apart, and sunk very deeply in the mud. We captured a live brontosaur. That's in National Geographic magazine, May 1954. In spite of all this, Bird dismissed the large human footprints as clever carvings. These tracks, dinosaurs and human, were, however, both cut from the Paluxy riverbed near Glen Rose, Texas, in supposedly Cretaceous strata, plainly disproving the evolutionist contention that the dinosaurs were extinct some 70 million years before man evolved. Geologists have rejected this evidence, however, preferring to believe that the human footprints were carved by some modern artist, while at the same time accepting the dinosaur prints as genuine. If anything, the dinosaur prints look more artificial than the human, but the genuineness of neither would be questioned at all were it not for the geologically sacrosanct evolutionary timescale. It's in the textbooks, not there in real life. In summary, we have seen that the preservation of organic materials as fossils by whatever means requires some sort of catastrophic condition, some kind of quick burial by engulfing sediments, usually followed by some abnormal chemical by means of rapid solidification. There is little wonder, then, that it is so difficult to find any remains of the modern era which could be said to be in the process of becoming fossils. We don't see this happening now. Need a catastrophe, worldwide flood again. Those that are found are invariably so situated as to indicate that they too have been buried by some sudden flood or volcanic eruption or some other catastrophe. But even such modern deposits as these are few and lean in comparison with the great extent of prodigious richness of the world's foliferous rocks. And so again we have seen that the principle of uniformity is utterly inadequate to explain the geologic phenomena, even in most important aspect, that of the fossil deposits in which the entire structure of evolutionary historical geology is built. Now let's go back and look at dinosaur prints once more. We did this earlier. Dinosaur footprints. You can see what this article was talking about in pictures. Paluxy River. See this website here. You can go there and take a look at your leisure. And we take a look at several different trails. Human footprints. Okay. See if we can see the there's the tracks. You look at them carefully. See if we can get them. See if we can find some more. Human prints, right there. And these are the dinosaur on the yellow. See. Take a look at another one here. See, there's the three toes, and the human, pretty big one, toes, and the heel right inside the dinosaur footprint.